Let's create our first program in Python and Ollama. How can we use Ollama or local LLMs to create your application in Python? In this video, we will not be using any of the libraries like LangChain, etc. We will be simply using Python with an additional library called request, which is an HTTP request, which uses curl or get functions to fetch the data. So here I am on VS Code, and I am using the Codium to complete my codes, and no other applications or plugins being used. So first thing we need to do is we need to import requests. Okay, so this is the only library we are using, and to make sure that request is installed, you can use the command pip install requests. So here you can see that on my system request is already installed. In your system, if it is not installed, this will be installed. So that is the first thing. The second library we will use will be JSON. So we'll fetch the data in JSON and then convert it, means decode it into normal text, and we'll print it. So these are the two things. Third thing we will use is we will get the URL. This URL in front of you, this is the URL of Ollama. Make sure your Ollama is running locally. If it's not running, you can start Ollama. So this is an application. You can open this application. I have created a video in the past, link I would provide in the description, where it tells you how to install and use Ollama. So if you have not used it, you can check that video. So make sure Ollama is running, and then after this you can check your Ollama here that this is running. And when Ollama is running, this is the port address 11434 on which it is available, and /API/generate is the URL from where we get the data. So this is the URL we will connect. Now we'll send some data to it. So this is data, and here what we are telling is what models we want to use. This is an LLM model. If we go to our prompt and we say Ollama list, you can see that I have 4 models installed: 5.4, Llama 3.2, Qwen 2.5 coder 14 billion, Qwen 2.5 coder which is around 3 billion. So these 4 models I have installed. If you don't have any models installed, what you can do is you can go to this website called Ollama, and here you can click on models. You can see many models available here, and any model you like. Let's say you want to install Llama 3.2. Here you can see which model you want. Let's say you want to install 1 billion model. So this is the command. You just copy this command and you run it. So this is the command, right? Yes. So if you give this command, it will start fetching the data and it will install it. But I am going to use right now Llama 3.2, which is already installed. So here you can see in front of you, it has started fetching this. But I have already have Llama 3.2, which I will be using, so this is not important to me. Now we have created the data here, and now we will send it through the request function and we'll get the response. So we'll get the response. So we are calling this URL with this data, and we are calling stream is equal to true, means we don't want to wait for the whole data to be collected and sent to us. We want it word by word. As soon as the data is written on the stream, we want it back. So this is the next line. Now after this, we check for the status. So what we do is, let's say if response is equal to 200, okay, it is automatically telling me. So what we do is we check for the status of response. 200 means this is an HTTP status. 200 means everything is fine. If you get 302, 404, then there are problems. So if everything is fine, means status code is 200. We get the chunk out of this. So what we do is we decode this chunk and then load it into a variable called output. So this output is an object and it has this variable called response. So here we are printing it, and if we don't give this, you will see what kind of output we get here, and this is what we are doing. So let's say this file name is first app. So I'm stopping this here. Okay, so here we go, Python first app.py, and here you can see that it loaded this model, which in our case is Llama 3.2, which is 2 GB model. So it loaded that 2 GB model in the memory and executed it. But you saw the output. It printed 1 on a single line. So what we need to do is we need to go here and say AND is equal to nothing and flush is equal to true. So this will flush after immediately this. So flush means it will immediately print it on the screen and it will not print a new line on that. So again we go here and run our command, and you can see that every time you run this, why couldn't the bicycle stand by itself? Because it has too tired. And every time you give it, it will give you a new joke. So this is now your first joke application. But you don't want the joke application. You want application to be anything. You want to interact with that. So what we can do is, let's say we comment this prompt and we ask the prompt from user. So what we do is, let's say we say prompt is equal to input this. So we get the input and we check if the input is exit, then we exit, otherwise we do all this stuff. So we move this stuff for inside. So if the prompt is not exit, we do this. If the prompt is, and at the end of it we get the prompt again. Okay, and let's print 2 lines here so that we get some space. So now what will happen is, it will ask you a prompt. You can ask anything. You can just say hello, or you can ask any question. You can ask it for a joke, a story, anything. Okay, so now we are getting a prompt, going into a loop. We have to add that prompt into data as well. So let's say data prompt is equal to prompt. So now prompt is added to the data and it's passed on to this. So let's run this app and see how it performs. So we go to Python first app and there's a prompt, tell me a joke, and let's see how is it doing here. Okay, it is already loaded in it. Tell me a short story. So you can see that GPU is being used. Okay, tell me a long story. So this is a long story. So CPU is not being used, memory is standard, GPU is being used. Don't worry about this internal GPU because I'm doing screen recording, so internal GPU is being used for that. What is the height of Everest? Tell me in short, what is the height of Mount Everest? Okay, so this is working fine. Now when I say exit, the application should exit. So application is working as we are expecting. So now what you can see is, this is as good as ChatGPT, but on your local machine. This is not going anywhere on the internet. So this can work locally without any internet. So you have your first Python application with just a request library. If you are a Python user, you know that this is a very common library, everybody uses it. There are easier and advanced ways of using Ollama, which is a system run locally with some local LLM systems to create more advanced application. I'll be covering them in the future, but this is the first application, and this gives you overall idea how you can use this to communicate with your Ollama server, which runs some local LLMs. I hope the video was helpful. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. Thank you. Bye-bye.